First the waiting. The faithful gathered in their thousands. The Swiss Guard on the last days of duty for this Pope. Then emerging from under the arch of St. Peter's, to the sound of the bells of the Basilica, the slow procession of cardinals and bishops, leading Pope Francis into the sunshine and back to his church. As the open casket moved through the crowd, waves of restrained applause. Inside, the select congregation barely filled the huge 16th century basilica.
Fratelli et sorelle.
The service was led by the Pope's chosen administrator, Cardinal Kevin O'Farrell. The cardinals, striking in their scarlet, queued to pay their respects to the Pope, knowing one of them may be his successor. They bowed their heads at the foot of his casket at the Pope's request, not on a pedestal. Remaining down to earth, rooted in the ordinary, not easy perhaps when your very appointment is said to rely on the guidance of the Holy Spirit. But for many who queued for hours today to see him, the late Pope somehow managed it.
I felt I'm very emotional. Someday he blessed us, and then the next day he passed.
What were his qualities that touched you?
He very humble, very friendly. He open to everybody. Immigrants. I'm one of the immigrants. We feel like we on the side. We live on the side of the society, and he opened the door and welcome us. He must make us feel home wherever we are.
He was everybody's person, everybody's friend. He had time for everybody, so I think we can all identify with him. And he loved everybody. I think that was his great grace for the world.
As for Francis, so for his successor. Love is not always enough to lead a church which faces competing demands on fundamental issues.
We are parents of 3 daughters and who were raised in Catholic, and we want to see more leadership of women in the church. That's very, very important to me. I hope before I pass that I see a female priest.
He knew and said that everybody has a place on church, even the LGBT community, the trans, everybody have a place on the church, and this is very important.
The question of women priests remain. What are your thoughts about that?
No, he made very clear that women will never be priests, and it's actually something that is not discussed in the church. They don't discuss this about.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's good.
You don't want women priests?
No, I don't.
The question of women priests, just one of many fundamental to the future of the church, which will be dictated by some of these men. The cardinals who will meet soon to choose the next pope in secret, but already some staying silent. Tens of thousands of people are expected to pay their respects to Pope Francis as he lies in state. The Basilica staying open until midnight tonight and tomorrow. His funeral will take place on Saturday morning. Well, I'm joined now by Father Sergio Tapia from the Catholic institution Opus Dei and Kate McElwee, the Executive Director of the Women's Ordination Conference, a movement that calls for gender equity in the Roman Catholic Church. Thanks both of you for joining us. Perhaps one of the most confusing things I've found over the last few days is you speak to some people who say Pope Francis was a radical, a reformer, and then others who say he really didn't go far enough. Kate McElwee first, what's your assessment?
I think Pope Francis was an incredibly pastoral pope who shepherded the church out into the world. His main priorities were accompaniment, listening, mercy. I think he would reject these titles of progressive or liberal, but he certainly pushed the church forward to really listen to its people and think about what the church needs today.
But is that saying there was no change?
I think especially on the question of women, Pope Francis unlocked a door, but he didn't fully walk through it. So we certainly see many appointments, significant appointments of women in the Vatican for the first time. Positions that were previously reserved for ordained men, or cardinals exclusively, now are held by women. So that is a significant change, although I feel like it is a bit fragile because the next Pope could change those roles. He could appoint, just because a woman can fill that role doesn't mean that the next Pope would want a woman there.
But precisely, I think that the one of the doors that the Pope opened was this of the not clericalization of the Church, of saying, what can a layman do, or a religious woman can do? Well, why we're still asking that to a priest? I think that the Pope had a great dream of opening the Church again to everybody, and his mantra, let's say, in the last year was this synodal church, a church hearing everybody, hearing all requests. And I think that necessarily the next Pope, whoever he will be, he necessarily will keep on that path.
But it's interesting, isn't it? You can open the doors of the church to everyone, but still say some roles are not for you. That remains an issue for many people within the church, doesn't it? Many women particularly.
And there's no greater example of that than a conclave where ordained men, cardinals, go behind closed doors to make decisions about the future of the church. So I hope that those men are listening to the voices of women around the world. The Synod on Synodality, we witnessed the calls for greater inclusion of women from every continent. So this isn't an exclusively regional issue. This is an issue for the whole church.
I mean, that remains very visible today. You saw the procession, so many men leading the procession, carrying the...
It's the tradition, and all cardinals are men, no? And they were followed then by the canonical fathers of the Basilica. But certainly I would say that the big issues that the Pope addressed are the issues of going outside to look for the people who are not believing. I think that his main legacy is not about roles of governance, but about a message that we need to spread again, because this world is living without hope. We are living under a war.
So you think the discussion of women priests, for example, is the wrong discussion to be having?
No, I don't think so. I think that the Pope wanted to address this issue and to say, we need to understand what Jesus really wants us to do in this moment with women. And he certainly started even a commission of understanding if they could be ordained deacons, and that's going on. And also, he, like she was saying, he addressed for the first time. Imagine the governor for the Vatican State is today, it's a nun.
So for many women, we spoke to a mother of 3 young girls today, a devout Catholic. She's raising her children as Catholic. She says before she dies, she hopes to see a woman priest. So is it enough to say this takes time, we're moving, there are other priorities?
These commissions and the further study of women deacons is certainly something to celebrate, but for many people it can feel like justice deferred. So many women are asking themselves, can I bring my young daughters to the church that continues to exclude them from substantial roles within the church? And so I think it's an interesting question that I think the next Pope will certainly have to face.
I mean, going forward to broader issues, there is that debate. You may say the titles, the names are rejected between conservatism and progressives, but there is a division in the church. We hear that on the ground, the people we're speaking to every day. How is that sorted out?
I think that there is this division, but for me, my main concern is that this division has become much more greater because of the importance of social media, and these echo chambers, where you cannot speak with someone who's thinking on the other side of your position. And that's a pity, because if I have a position, I'm director of a seminary here in Rome. I'm in charge of forming 78 young boys to the priesthood, and probably my opinion would be different to the opinion of Kate. But it would be a pity for me to say, I don't want to hear you. you don't have nothing to teach me. You don't have nothing to teach to my boys. That would be a great pity, because I know that what she thinks, no, may enrich their vocation in this moment, no? And I think that what we would like to do is to work together and walk together in the service of the gospel.
Very briefly, I mean, as we look ahead to a new pope, are you worried that the changes, even if they were in tone, the opening of the door, are you worried it will be shut going forward?
I think Pope Francis has given the Church an enormous gift of this journey of synodality, of inclusion, and I hope that the cardinals carry that gift and use it to guide this bridge building and really listen to the voices of women around the world.
Kate McAwee, Father Tapia, I have to end it there, but thank you both so much for coming in.